For today's cup of coffee, youngest kid every time, he's got worse than the barking dogs, the screaming children, all this stuff trying to distract me. It reminds me very much of that time when I was in radio. I was reading the news, had to be professional or try to be professional, and they decided it was a good idea to put an ice cube down my back. I didn't miss a beat. They didn't do it again because it did not get the reaction that they wanted. Anyhow, So for today's cup, we have a bit of a medical mystery, and so I guess this would fit in the category of odd, strange, weird, whatever it is.
It'd be weirdness.
It is weirdness. And this is the death of Gloria Ramirez. And she's also known as the toxic lady or the toxic woman. And I actually remember this being reported on radio. It was probably Art Bell when this happened.
It was also on an episode of X-Files.
I think they had modified it a little bit, hadn't they?
Yes.
Or was it just... A lot of the X-Files, this is what people don't realize, a lot of X-Files was based on fact.
Yeah.
And, you know, even while they were still, oh, it's all conspiracy theory. Yeah, we've seen how that's turned out now, haven't we? Anyhow, what happened, this lady was brought in to the ER on February the 19th, 1994, around 8:15 p.m. And she was suffering from severe heart palpitations. So she was brought into Riverside General Hospital, that is there in California. Paramedics had transported her. She was extremely confused, and she was suffering from tachycardia and chin strokes respiration, which is rapid breathing followed by apnea. So it's a very abnormal breathing pattern.
Yeah.
And also, it's she was suffering from late stage cervical cancer. And so medical staff had injected her with several different medications trying to sedate her, which some of those things can also further, you know,
issues.
make it, breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's late in the day. I usually can figure out the word on that. But they can further make the breathing issues worse. But
Indeed they can.
they truly, truly can. When it became clear that Ramirez was responding poorly to treatment, staff tried to defibrillate her heart. So that means for people who may not know, that means try to get the rhythm of it back to normal.
Yeah.
And at that point, several people saw an oily sheen covering her body.
Gross.
And some noticed a fruity, garlic-like odor that they thought was coming from her mouth. Registered nurse Susan Kane attempted to draw blood from Ramirez's arm and noticed an ammonia-like smell coming from the tube. She passed the syringe to Julie Gorchinsky, a medical resident who noticed manila-colored particles floating in the blood. At this point, Kane fainted and was removed from the room. Shortly thereafter, Gorchinsky began to feel nauseated, and she complained that she was lightheaded, left the trauma room, and sat at a nurse's desk. A staff member asked her if she was okay, but before she could respond, she also passed out.
Oh, jeez.
Maureen Welch, a respiratory therapist who was assisting in the trauma room, was the third to pass out. The staff was then ordered to evacuate all emergency department patients to the parking lot outside the hospital. Overall, 23 people became ill and 5 were hospitalized. A skeleton crew stayed behind to stabilize Ramirez. At 8:50 p.m., after 45 minutes of CPR and defibrillation, Ramirez was pronounced dead from kidney failure related to her cancer. Now, the county health department called in California's Department of Health and Human Services, which put 2 scientists, Doctors Ana Maria Osorio and Christian Waller, on the case. They interviewed 34 hospital staff who had been working in the ER department on February 19th. Using a standardized questionnaire, these researchers found that people who had developed severe symptoms such as loss of consciousness, shortness of breath, and muscle spasms tended to have certain things in common. People who had worked within 2 feet of Ramirez and had handled her intravenous lines had been at high risk, but other factors that correlated with severe symptoms did not appear to match a scenario in which fumes had been released. The survey found that those afflicted tended to be women rather than men, and they all had normal blood tests after the exposure. They believed the hospital workers suffered from mass hysteria.
How the fuck did they suffer from mass hysteria?
That is one of the standard excuses. If it's indoors, just as the owls are the excuse if it's outdoors.
Oh my god, that's such... Obviously that was not mass hysteria.
Absolutely. Now, Gorchinsky denied that she had been affected by mass hysteria and pointed to her own medical history as evidence. After the exposure, she spent 2 weeks in the intensive care unit with breathing problems. She developed hepatitis and a avascular necrosis in her knees. Riverside Coroner's Office contacted Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory to investigate the incident. Livermore Labs postulated that Ramirez had been using DMSO, and what that is, it's dimethyl sulfur oxide.
What the hell is that?
Well, it's an unstable sulfur compound is what it is. Okay. DMSO is something that people used to use quite a few years ago as far as arthritis and different things like that. Mm-hmm. But because it was an unstable sulfur compound, one of the side effects was having a garlicky type body odor.
Ew.
So what happened over the years to prevent the garlicky type odor, you still have glucosamine and chondroitin. And guess what? That's those two combined. One of them is basically a collagen, it's cartilage rebuilder.
Yeah.
And so the other one is like a sulfur stable form of this that helps with inflammation.
Okay.
Now, going back to them saying that these people that work in an ER were prone to mass hysteria. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
These people, I mean, and in California and stuff, we're talking people that are brought in with shootings, stabbings, God knows what, every night.
Pipes through heads.
Oh, yeah.
Arms.
So these people are not prone to losing their shit over the least little whatever.
Exactly.
So that was very insulting to the people who worked there.
Yes.
And again, this was in 94. I could see it happening easier with mass hysteria today.
Yeah.
Than it did then. But anyhow, so they're saying that, it says the DMSO can be sold in gel form at hardware stores. They also sold it in health food stores in roll-on form and stuff like that. And they claimed that a buildup of that had caused kidney failure. And it says oxygen administration by the paramedics would have combined with the DMSO to form a sulfone, which is known to crystallize at room temperature, and the crystals were observed and supposedly these were the crystals that were observed in the blood draw. Electric shocks administered during emergency defibrillation could have then converted the DMSO2 into dimethyl sulfate, which is DMSO4, which is a highly toxic dimethyl ester of sulfuric acid, exposure to which could have caused some of the reported symptoms of the ER staff. And then this other group that was called the New Detectives said that the change in temperature of the blood draw from 98.6, the body, to 64 degrees in the ER may have contributed to the conversion. Now, I will tell you this. Usually in chemistry type things, when stuff is being converted to another form, it's a matter of heat.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like I know everything about chemistry. If I did, I would be a pharmacist. But that's the usual thing.
Yeah.
So I'm calling bullshit on some of this stuff.
Yeah, I would call bullshit on that too.
All right, and it did say that had not been confirmed. And 2 months after Ramirez died, her badly decomposed body was released for an independent autopsy and burial, and that the Ramirez family pathologist was unable to determine a cause of death because there was such a problem with bad decomposition, decomposition. She was rotting. And because the decomposition starts immediately when the heart stops beating and everything like that, it's immediate.
Yeah.
And also, her heart was missing.
So why was her heart missing? Did it get eaten away? Was it stolen? What?
And also, her other organs were cross-contaminated with fecal matter.
See, that doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely. So, that was from Wikipedia, if I didn't tell you on that. Then, another article here, which is from one that is near and dear to us. This is Brent Swancer, Mysterious
Lord.
Universe. And he wrote this back on March 10th of 2020.
We appreciate you, dude, but damn.
Hey, he does all right. He does all right. And he added to what Wiki didn't.
Yeah.
And he writes in here that the removal of Ms. Ramirez's body was abnormal. That personnel that were decked out in full hazmat biocontaminant suits placed the body in a sealed aluminum casket. And took air samples from throughout the ER in order to test them for toxins. It says when the actual autopsy was carried out a full week later, it was done under similar conditions with those in attendance in thick protective gear. Yet oddly, it was found that during this initial autopsy, that there seemed to be no signs of any toxins, no trace of anything at all that could explain the severe symptoms displayed by those who had been near her. Then, when they were going on with all that, oh, well, this happened, and it just mysteriously and just happened to do this, and then it's like, and one of the theories was that she had somehow been around a component that's used in the production of meth. And her family's like, no.
The hell?
Right. So, anyhow, Gloria's family certain didn't buy the official explanation, and that they had contracted for an independent autopsy to be done by Dr. Richard Fukumoto. It seems like I've heard of him before.
He sounds familiar.
It does sound familiar. And it had been weeks since Gloria's death, and it was also found that the corpse had been kept in a faulty refrigeration unit.
Wow.
It wasn't that convenient.
That sounds like it was done on purpose.
And was too decomposed to do much with, leaving him unable to reach any conclusions to find a cause of death. And, the heart was missing, and it had not been returned from the coroner's office.
Sounds like government people stole it.
It says that it was also unusual that the original blood samples that was taken had disappeared also.
How spooky is that?
So there's theories, ranging from secret biological weapons to accidental administration of chemicals used for making meth being shipped out of the hospital in IV bags. What?
The hell?
I don't think they'd be shaking a bottle in the basement there at the hospital. Now, they'd be doing some odd things, but I don't think that includes that.
Yeah.
So, that is a case that is still just as mysterious today as it was then.
That is a very, very strange case, and the likelihood of it being mass hysteria is very slim to none, and the fact that they rolled it as such, that seems like they're hiding something.
Oh yeah, very much so. And the fact that it was 10 weeks after her death before she was allowed to be buried.
Yeah.
So there was some kind of fuckery going on.
And with the faulty unit, refrigerator unit.
Right. Very convenient.
Very convenient.
Because now, whoever was down there, that people in the morgue and stuff are there all the time.
Absolutely. And they have to check that stuff.
Sure. Not only do they have to check it, because one of the reported worst smells is a decomposing human body.
Right.
So you can't tell me that nobody went down there and they didn't smell that.
Yeah. I mean, there was like a story about this funeral home recently that found many corpses and babies that were dead, like decomposing. Like people literally were going in there for their funerals or for funerals and stuff like that, and they're like, the service was wonderful, people were kind or whatever, but the smell was absolutely horrendous.
Was that the one where they had the babies stuffed in the ceiling? Or was
It
that
was
a
a different
different
one.
one? Okay.
Different one. They had a mixture of bodies.
We will have to do that.
Yeah.
Worst funeral homes in history.
Yeah.
Bring out your dead.
Bring out your dead.
But now, like I said,
dead yet.
You know, so who knows what happened to Ms. Ramirez, and they said she was just normal housewife, just living her life there in California.
And then all of a sudden this happens.
Right. So there was something else there.
Absolutely.
And then to say the cause of death was kidney failure, but they left the kidneys in the body and removed the heart.
Yeah. Like, the fuck?
And that the one attendant had developed those severe, lifelong, illness with her knees and stuff like that. Now,
Right, exactly. So,
just suddenly.
yeah.
And the people in the ER, they just
there was
freaked
something-
out.
Yeah, there was obviously something else that we have no clue what it was.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
So,
If you experience something like that, don't sniff the bodies.
yeah.
Don't
Don't.
sniff them.
It's very, like I said, that one has stayed with me since '94.
Yeah.
So I remembered that one well. If you've had any kind of weirdness experiences like that with hospitals or whatever, yeah, if you've had experiences with the paranormal, supernatural encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, bad ER visits, my God, who has not had bad ER visits?
I mean, I've had bad ER visits before, like I suffering with severe migraines, and
Yes.
they wouldn't even get me.
Right. Told him that it would 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's by the mercies of God that I've not had an assault charge in all these years. Yeah. So, anyhow, local legends, family legends, regional legends, oddities, bizarreness. You may collect toenails in a mason jar and, keep them in your garage.
You may keep animal fetuses in jars.
Well, that's not that bizarre.
No, it's just an oddity. Do you have a slice of brain?
You can actually get those. You can buy those.
Yeah, Voltaire got one time.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty interesting. It's like the x-rays. I was going to buy some of the x-rays, but they were expensive by the time because they were from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But they were amazing. I love the x-rays.
I would like to buy an actual human bone
No, that's...
and a shrunken head.
Well, I don't know. If somebody has donated their body to science and that you have their permission...
Most of that stuff is donation.
Right.
So, literally, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think cow bone would probably be better.
There's no such thing as a human cow bone.
Now, I understand. Well, hey, are you kidding about this chimera research and what came out this past week? I can't even discuss it because it was so disturbing that I don't even know if I will ever be able to discuss that chimera research.
Right.
So as far as having human cow, it's quite possible. No kidding.
Well, cow bone is still different than
It
human
is.
bone.
It is different.
So,
But it's just...
and even the fake shrunken heads, they're like, animal skin is completely different than human skin.
Sure it is. The closest thing to human skin, pigs.
Well, they don't make shrunken heads out of pigs.
No,
'cause
they
don't grow
don't.
hair.
No, they don't. But as far as that's what a lot of people, when they're learning to tattoo, they use pig skin. So anyhow,
That's fine.
you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Lots of things to ponder or not. You can always wait till the next day to ponder some of these.
Yeah, I gotta let whatever cat was scratching at the door in.
Yeah. Yeah, we always got the cats. Anyhow, we all will see you on the next cup. Know that you're appreciated, that you are loved. And if you just need somebody to talk to, hey, throw us an email also.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bring out your dead.